What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video on my channel. Today we're going to be talking about some players to keep an eye on for the 2025-26 season in the NHL. Some guys who had interesting years last year or maybe moved to a new team this year and have a lot of promise this season. And will they be able to meet the expectations? We're going to find out. But I have a list of 5 names plus some honorable mentions. Let's get right into it. The first of my honorable mentions is actually Vladislav Gavrikov from the New York Rangers. I mean, this is a player who's not doesn't really need to prove anything to anyone. Like, we know he's a very sturdy defensive defenseman. He played a great season last year with the LA Kings. He was kind of brought in to be that player to hopefully help them make a proper playoff push and maybe finally beat the Edmonton Oilers. But he jumped ship and now he's on New York Rangers. And this is a great addition, not because I think that he's going to go and put up double his points next season or how he's going to do all crazy offensive work next season. But this is going to be a great move for unlocking the potential, the refound potential after a quite lackluster season last season for Adam Fox. While I do not share this opinion, I think Adam Fox has genuinely got some people's attention in Norris Trophy voting, and I think that is a really telltale sign of how good of a player he is. And with a player like Vladislav Gavrikov, maybe as his left defenseman, it could be a great duo because one is so defensively sound, the other one is a great offensive producer. Adam Fox is a legit player. He's due for a bounce back year. Having a player like Gavrikov next to him is a great fit. And I think this is going to be an amazing move for the Rangers, who are honestly well fit to be another playoff team this year. Our next honorable mention is going to be Marco Rossi from the Minnesota Wild. He actually was in contract disputes with his team for a long time. And there's other teams lining up trade offers for him. From what I understood, there was interest from like the Montreal Canadiens, among other teams. But Marco Rossi just re-signed with the Minnesota Wild relatively recently, a $5 million per year deal for 3 years. And this is a good bridge deal for him. He's a great player. He has a lot of potential, a lot of upside. One thing that's so important to the Minnesota Wild is that players like Rossi, players like Zuccarello, Boldy, but even further down their offensive lineup need to produce. Because I've made a video on in the past, Kirill Kaprizov is such a one-man show when it comes to the offensive production on that team. Like I said, not to do anything bad when it comes to Boldy, when it comes to Zuccarello. These guys are great players, but Kirill Kaprizov's point per game is just actually blows everyone out the water, you know? So they definitely need some production from guys like Marco Rossi, especially with a lackluster depth offense in the team. And he'd be the one to make them an even better offensive team, give Kaprizov some help, and make that power play more exciting. If so, it can be a great player to watch for the next season. I'm looking forward to seeing him play. My final honorable mention for this, before we get into the top 5, is going to be Logan Cooley from the Utah Mammoth. And I think a lot of us can agree that Logan Cooley is already an excellent player. You know, he is putting up great numbers in the past few seasons, even though he's just a second-year player. What I will say, though, about Cooley is that with some new additions to the team, including J.J. Peterka, who I almost put on this list, but I decided to go for Cooley instead, Logan Cooley could become a point-per-game player and beyond that very soon. Whether it's this season or the next season, I can see Cooley putting up 80 to 90 points. He is such a great offensive talent. I say this because Logan Cooley is a great centerman who can make exciting plays for the fans. He's a fan favorite kind of player, a great player to watch. And another reason why I say this is a list of players to watch for next season. He's an exciting player to watch, and honestly, he can be a very blockbuster type player this season. Now we're into the top 5, and starting off with number 5, I'm going to go with actually one of my favorite defensemen in the league, despite him being a direct rival of my team, the Leafs, Jake Sanderson. You know, when I was watching the Leafs play Ottawa last year in the playoffs, I thought Sanderson was honestly the best player on the ice in multiple occasions. He's such a good puck-moving defenseman. He's very quick. He knows how to use the puck well. He can defend very well. And honestly, he scared me a lot when I was watching the series. You know, I thought he could be the guy to make all the difference for the Senators. With that being said, though, I think the Norris Trophy, to me, is kind of wrapped up between Makar and Hughes. You know, it's going to be very hard for defensemen to push for that kind of thing. What I want to see from Sanderson is for him to solidify himself as a legit top 10 defenseman in this league, maybe even top 5. You know, there's nothing to stop him from doing that. Yes, he's still young, but he is such an amazing player. He's very quick. He can move the puck with effortlessly. And I think that he is such an important player to the Ottawa Senators, considering the D-core is good, but he is definitely the leader of that D-core at this point. Now, at the number 4 position, we got to talk about Frank Nazar from the Chicago Blackhawks. You know, a team that has been struggling very much on offense in the past few years, even especially since Connor Bedard joined the team. You know, Bedard has been almost a one-man show to the point where people actually think that he's not even playing well enough because he's not putting up those crazy elite numbers that we were maybe expecting from him. But you have to look at the team around him and honestly see that is not the most quality lineup, respectfully. And so any kind of offensive help and hope that they can get on this team is key. And Frank Nazar was a pleasant surprise. Obviously, he was a high draft pick, a first-round pick for the Chicago Blackhawks, but doesn't mean that he's going to be guaranteed to be a great player. However, last season, at the end of the season, he showed his talents really, really well. In the last 10 games, he put up 9 points, and that was so impressive for him. And that is such a good sign to go forward with. Also, he signed a huge extension, upwards of $6 million per year for a long-term 7 years. And I think it goes to show how much faith the organization has in Frank Nazar. And I think that every team needs a player like this who is going to excite the fans and be a great 1-2 punch, maybe with Bedard. That's going to be the hope. Obviously, we'll see what happens, but could I see him being the second best centerman, or at least second best forward even, on the Chicago Blackhawks? I would say yes. I don't know who's going to be playing next season when it comes to their new draft picks, etc. How well Ryan Donato is going to play this season after having a great year last year. But for me, I think Frank Nazar is a number 2 guy behind Bedard. I can't wait to see him play. Now, on to number 3, and honestly, one of the players I'm honestly most excited for to see this season is Zane Parekh of the Calgary Flames. Obviously, the rookie defenseman who completely shined in the OHL, putting up ridiculous numbers. He put up over point per game by a mile, putting up over 100 points as a defenseman. Did the same in the playoffs when it comes to over point per game. He was extremely, extremely effective. And the thing is with Zane Parekh is that not only did he have a little bit of NHL experience last season with only just 1 game, but a goal in that game, which is very much telltale of his ability. But Rasmus Andersson, who is probably the number 1 right defenseman on that Calgary Flames team, realistically he's on his way out. Even Michael Backlund said it in an interview. He said this guy's going to get traded. We don't know when. So who's going to step into that number 1 right defenseman role? It's got to be Zane Parekh. And will it be this season or next? I'm not exactly sure. What I will say is that I definitely think that he could be in the running for the Calder Trophy this year. People are all going to say Ivan Demidov, and that's completely fair. You know, he is such a talented rookie. But Zane Parekh is the real deal. I think he can be such an effective player for this Calgary Flames franchise. A team who has exciting rookies in the past, especially Dustin Wolf just last year. You know, a junior player is elite when 48 games, they put up 97 points. Not to mention 14 playoff games, putting up 30 points. Not only is he getting over 2 points per game in the regular season, but also in the playoffs. And then he goes and jumps to the NHL when he plays for the Dallas Stars. He puts up a decent first season with 14 points in 24 games. After that, he played another season where he played 59 games with Dallas, got 29 points, but realistically was not facing top-line minutes, and then went to Carolina, and honestly did a lot better there, putting up 9 points in 19 games, and then honestly was a spark plug, a very important player in the playoffs for them. And honestly, in that first-round series, he was very, very important for their team. Given the new addition of Nikolai Ehlers to Carolina, he'll likely be taking up that first-line winger spot, maybe with Andrei Svechnikov, Aho, probably the first line for that team. So where does that leave Stankoven? Will he be a second line, or will he even be pushed down to the third line? I doubt it, but crazier things have happened. I think he could be a second-line winger for this team and put up a good amount of points. I would say 60-plus points this season because he is so talented. Yes, he's a smaller player, and he might get pushed around a little bit, but he's not. He doesn't give up easily. You know, he's a very, very talented player. He can put the puck in the net, but he also makes amazing plays for his teammates. I remember watching him in the World Junior Championships a few years ago, and he was one of my favorite players to watch in that tournament. He was so impressive. And so for that reason, Stankoven is a player I'm really excited to watch, and I can't wait to see how he does this year. I'm really hoping for the best. And finally, last but not least, we're going to talk about Jackson Lacombe of the Anaheim Ducks, a player who a lot of people have been talking about. A lot of people have been talking about as a dark horse for a superstar level season this season after playing a great year last year. And really a very interesting case of a player. Let's talk about him for a sec. Lacombe was actually drafted in 2019, but didn't really burst into the scene until last season, or I should say the season before, 2024, where he had a pretty solid year, but didn't really do anything too eye-popping. But last year was very, very impressive, putting up 14 goals and 29 assists and 43 points, just 75 games, over half a point per game as a defenseman, and on a pretty bad Anaheim team, to be completely transparent. He was actually a 0± compared to last season, the year before, where he was a -24. Excuse me for looking at the stats on the side here, but he is a very, very talented player, and I think that he could be having a great year this year. It's kind of interesting because just a few years ago, maybe a year or two ago, I used to look at the Anaheim Ducks defensive core. I thought they had an amazing rookie defensive core when it comes to Minchikov, Olin Zellweger, and also, of course, at the time, Jamie Drysdale, who's now moved for Cutter Gauthier. But the point is, Jackson Lacombe was not really on my radar too much. Not to say he wasn't a good player and a good prospect, but he wasn't one of the top names for that defensive core for me. But he's really took the reins as that number one defenseman on this team. And playing next to a guy like Jacob Trouba or Radko Gudas, he's going to be relied on for a lot of offenses next season. I think you can see him putting up 55 plus points. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is that Jackson Lacombe can be relied on for both offense and defense in this team. He's going to be a very important penalty killer. He may get first power play minutes, but it might be Zellweger as well. So he might be the second power play quarterback. But regardless, he get time on the special teams, which was very important for his young development. Additionally, with the Anaheim Ducks still having a young roster, players like Leo Carlson, Mason McTavish, these guys are just getting better and better each year. And when it comes down to it, these players getting better just benefits the play of Lacombe as well. He'll probably be able to get more assists, more plays in the zone, and just have better overall teammates and potentially more wins. Especially with the emergence of Lucas Dostal as a great starting goaltender. They obviously locked him up long term. They were able to trade John Gibson, and they were so comfortable with Dostal. So the point is, this team is in a win-now situation when it comes to being a fringe playoff team. They are not obviously in a win-now situation when it comes to the Stanley Cup, but they do have some veterans in this team, so I think they're definitely trying to make a push for the playoffs, and I'm intrigued to see what the Anaheim Ducks are able to do this year. A lot of that will be on the shoulders of Jackson Lacombe. Let's see how he handles it. So those are my players to watch for this upcoming season. Players who obviously are on people's radars, but they're not the McDavids of the league. They still have something to prove, and I look forward to seeing all these players prove something major in this next season. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think below. Who did I miss? Who else are you excited to watch this season? Let me know. And thanks so much again. Have a great day. Take care.